Hi, Mark here from PondAlgaeSolutions.com, and as promised, this is a follow-up video to an email that we sent out last week regarding a survey. We sent out a survey asking many of you what your biggest problem and biggest question, or most important question, might be regarding pond algae control in your pond. And doesn't matter whether it's large or small pond. We wanted you to send the responses in, and boy did you. We got hundreds of responses to the survey questions, and as I promised then, I wanted to share a few of the most common questions that came up in that survey and provide you with a few answers that may help you along the way. I also noted at the time that a lot of these questions were designed, and answers that you provided were designed to help us in putting together an all-new Pond Algae Solutions workshop, which we're working on right now. And so we appreciate that, that input very, very much. So let me cover a couple of the common questions that came up, and we'll cover that with some answers. Number one, how can I control algae without spending a lot of money? Great question. And fortunately, there are a lot of options, a lot of solutions that you can do affordably and try to help improve an algae problem in both small and large ponds. In terms of small ponds, a couple of ideas that have worked over and over again for us. It doesn't cost a thing to try this. If you have a green water problem in a small pond, one of the best things to try is periodic water changes. In other words, if you can turn the water over and put fresh water in, let's say 10, 15, 20%, do that once each day for a period of, 3, 4, 5 days, maybe longer. If you see improvement, keep going, see how far you can go. But basically, by adding fresh water in, you're helping dilute the nutrients that are in there that could be helping the algae grow well. And if you start to see improvements, sometimes that'll bring some stabilization to the whole system, and less periodic water changes will continue to help improve it. So that doesn't cost too much to do. The other thing that you might try is adding plants. There's a little bit of initial cost with plants, but oftentimes when you add floating plants like lilies or hyacinths or different things that help provide not only shading but also nutrient absorption, which can outcompete the algae for the available nutrients in the water, that can help clear up algae problems of all kinds. And generally, if you shop around, you can find pretty good deals on some of these pond plants in the spring of the year. Some of them you could even carry over if you wanted to, and so that helps save a little bit there too. Finally, this is not the easiest change to make, I'll admit that, but it doesn't cost anything to do it. In these small ponds, you have to remember that they all have a certain capacity. They can only hold so many fish, and that would include the capability of the filters and the mechanical things, as well as the volume capacity of the pond. And so if you're having water quality problems and you suspect that you may have an overload of fish, you might reduce the fish load. Find homes for some of them, and that may help. A ratio that we often use is we allow 10 gallons of water for every inch of goldfish, and we allow 25 gallons of water for every inch of koi. And if you find that you calculate up your total fish inches that you're carrying in that pond, estimate it, and that number happens to be over the gallon volume of the pond when you multiply everything out, then the fish may be a place to look for the problem. And so we've seen dramatic results when you lessen the fish load in some of these small ponds. Now for you large pond owners, here's a cost-effective tip. It's not cost-free, but it can be done very cheaply. We love the idea of using dried barley straw in large ponds if you have historically had an algae problem and you can get the barley in before the problem starts to really build up on you. University research has shown that barley can be a retardant to algae growth. And so what we like to do is suggest finding a local supplier, a local farmer who may have 20, 30-pound bales, and in that way, if you can find them locally, you can get them for very little cost, and that's great. Put, depending on the size of your pond, put 5 or 6 in per acre, and let it do its job. It'll decay and release some substances that often can inhibit algae growth, and so it's a very cost-effective way to help, and when it works, it's a great solution. It's not foolproof, but it can help. Another thing you might try if you're having a bit of an algae problem, but this might be more focused on certain types of weeds, is looking at grass carp. Grass carp can be stocked pretty affordably, and when a particular plant is growing in a pond that they like to consume, once they're big enough and old enough, they can do an amazing job at keeping them clean. And so that's another extremely cost-effective option for you to pursue in large waters. The second common question that came up over and over again is, how can I control algae safely, naturally, and without harming my fish? And I'll go back to what I said in terms of the small pond environment. Plants are a wonderful addition, and they provide a great natural way, a holistic way, to help work against algae, and they also can improve the aesthetics of your pond in a very safe way. In large ponds and in small ponds, most people that know me know that I emphasize the use of beneficial bacteria, good microbes. These can work in any size of pond that you're dealing with, and they work exceptionally well to reduce the nutrients that feed algae growth and make it prolific. It's very safe. It has a huge tolerance and safety threshold. You can't hardly do anything wrong with it except maybe underdose with it, where you'll get poor results. But the bottom line is that it's an exceptionally good tool to try to use to clean things up naturally. And one of the things that we're going to talk about in depth in the upcoming workshop is our anti-algae protocol. That's what we call it. And we use this on almost every pond we deal with. We start with the most holistic, complete, and natural solutions, the safest solutions, not only for fish, but also for wildlife and pets and people and the environment. And we work hard to try to control and improve things at a base root level. And when you do that right, algae will go away. Many of the other problems that you have in ponds will go away. And you start to see a pond-wide improvement, which is great. But we also are realistic, and we know that sometimes problems persist. And we might look at mechanical options, again, trying to stay as environmentally friendly as we can. And down the list, there are occasions for certain types of plants and certain problems you might have to use a chemical, but we are very judicious in the use of those things, and we save them for the very end of the line. And there's many times we don't have to use them at all. And so we talk a lot more about that in the workshop and the anti-algae protocol, as well as many other facets of algae control. This is a program and a workshop, I'll call it. It's a course or a workshop that we actually initially put together a handful of years ago, and it was in a CD format, an audio-only format, and many people listened to it, found great value out of it. But it's time for an update, and we wanted to do a fully digital, online workshop where you can actually see a presentation as well as the audio, and it's intended to be, very easy to navigate, fully covering every aspect of algae control that we can possibly think of. Your questions and answers have helped here. And so, I'm looking forward to presenting this in the next few weeks, and I think it's going to help a lot of people out and be the most comprehensive source for algae control information that's really ever been put together. We've been at this a long time. We know a lot of the tricks of the trade, if you will, and I think this workshop will expose most, if not all of them. So if you are still interested in learning more when this workshop becomes available, it won't be too long down the road, I want you to take a look below this video, and there's a place where you can enter your email address, or if you're on YouTube, there'll be a link that you can click and come on over, sign up to our email notification list, and as soon as this workshop is available, I'll let you know. There will be some special discounts available to the initial folks that are coming in and attending. It will be very affordable, I promise you that. And if you're interested, sign up, and we'll let you know as soon as it's available. And I appreciate, once again, your willingness to share your primary questions with us. Many of the answers to these questions will be found in that workshop, and you've helped make it much better. Appreciate all that, and we'll see you again real soon. Take care, and enjoy your pond.